But Harold was the great mover behind that series, because if there was anything that didn't really work, he would rewrite. Our scenes were usually beautifully done, beautifully written, and Jeff and I used to learn them very quickly so that we didn't have to come in on Saturday mornings. And Clive and Joe and David used to get fed up because Pat used to like working Saturday mornings, and we used to get through our stuff very quickly so we didn't have to come in. And Clive used to say, it's not fair, why can't they come in? And we'd done our stuff, so we were ready to shoot on Sunday. What one woman finds attractive, another woman would say, yeah. And so I think it's lovely that Daisy absolutely worshipped Onslow, and I think she genuinely did. She used to try and make him jealous. A lot of the time it was very difficult not to giggle. I remember that terrible time on the motorbike where I had to strut up and down in this black leather, and Clive and Geoffrey were standing together, and they were going practically cross-eyed because they didn't want to laugh. And the other one was doing that striptease thing, the bumps and grinds. Well, there I was very glad from all one's vaudeville days. So, but him trying to keep a straight face was quite difficult. I know on the first day of the pilot, with the live audience in, we came on to do our scene, climbed into the bed, and the whole bed collapsed. And our legs were in the air, and this audience, they were just falling out. And this sort of thing happened regularly. It wasn't just once the bed collapsed, but several times. Also, he was very naughty. He used to pinch my bum underneath the covers and say rude things. And he would say it just before I had a line to say. And then I'd get the giggles, and they'd all think, what's the matter with her? I used to get my own back. I used to get my own back when he couldn't say a word. And then I'd smile at him. And then I'll never forget once when he was lighting a cigarette and trying to be all casual about, and he got it stuck to his lip. His lip went up like that. So we had a lot of fun on it, a lot of naughtiness.
Really good comedy is often based on pretension. Pretending to be something that you're not. And the exquisite danger of being found out. And in England, I think in America to a certain extent, there are social divisions. Sometimes they're to do with money. They're being broken down now in society here, but the class system still exists. And Hyacinth is somebody who wants to be better than she is and wants to be thought of in higher society. And she doesn't quite make it. And her plans and her schemes to ascend in the social scale often get knocked on the head. But she comes back flying the flag. She's undaunted. Now that is the very stuff of comedy. And down the ages, you know, we've written very well about that. Malvolio, Shakespeare, Mrs. Malaprop, Sheridan's The Rivals. It's all there, a rich seam in England. What I like best about the Hyacinth monster is that she lived to fight another day. She was optimistic, and although, as I say, she slipped constantly on the banana skin, back she came. And she stood for standards too, not a bad thing. She wasn't going to let anything slip. And I like that. One has a lot of memories of absolutely cracking up with laughter in rehearsal. But of course you can't be doing that when you're on camera, so you get rid of that. But it was immensely enjoyable rehearsing and preparing these series. We had a wonderful time on what I think was my favourite episode, which was our adventure on the QE2. And we were on board for 5 days and looked after wonderfully well, living in the lap of luxury and working quite hard from early in the morning until the light gave late in the afternoon. And we used, of course, quite a few of the passengers. A letter went to each person in the cabins saying that the BBC was going to be filming for 5 days of their cruise and that we hoped that they wouldn't be disturbed, that we may be in their way occasionally. The letter also said, if on Monday afternoon, July the whatever, you want to get into your evening clothes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and come down to the ballroom and be part of the scene, please let us have your names. Well, of course, 250 people said yes. We only needed about 60 or 80 pairs. It was wonderful, wonderful, great fun. It's always fun when there's a physical side to comedy. I think it's called clowning, really, isn't it? And I was in very good shape. I mean, I didn't know at the beginning of the series of Keeping Up Appearances that there was going to be so much exercise needed. But it was part of the situation and the story so often. And I wanted to do as many of the physical exploits as I possibly could. There were 2 that I didn't do, and I'm not going to tell you what they were, but they were a little bit too dangerous. And also one was impractical from a point of view of having to wait until I was redressed, you know. But I was in good shape, I think. And those physical things, getting on the back of a lorry, grew out of the story. If they'd been appliqued onto the situation and not growing logically, because I do think comedy has to have its own logic for an audience to grasp it and go with it. If they'd not grown naturally out of the story that was being told, I probably would have not done them. It's rather uncomfortable making, in a way, to look back and think about a moment or a gathering awareness that I could make people laugh. And it came to me in school. And I cottoned on to this. I was carpeted many a time in front of the headmistress, because I could disrupt a class in no time. And when the teacher turned round from the board, I would be the only one with a straight face. I mean, it was very reprehensible. And I remember finding out how easy it seemed to be. And I remember sometimes despising my fellow pupils who could be made to laugh so easily, who didn't have enough self-control. Now, I was surrounded by a wonderful cast in Keeping Up Appearances, and no one more wonderful than the man who played my husband, because at the very beginning there was very little in that text for him to go on. He made bricks without straw, in my opinion, and built, contrived a character that the whole world, of course, is sorry for, out of very little. And after a while, you see, a writer does watch what an actor is doing with a character, if there's a series, and begins to write for that character. And so the writer, Roy Clark, did pick up on various things. I suppose he picked up a little bit on the fact